The return. The consolamentum meant not only the descent of the Holy Spirit, but also something else. As we have seen, a characteristic element of Cathar doctrine was the belief that a part of the angel or spirit incarcerated in every human being remained in heaven. Well, through the consolamentum, the longed-for reunion of the two parts took place. The mystic wedding was celebrated between the fallen soul and the spirit that remained in heaven. This would be, according to the Cathars, the wedding that many passages in the New Testament speak about. Therefore, the consolamentum involved, as in all Gnostic visions, a real ontological change that numerous sources describe as a true mystical union between soul and spirit, following which the spirit imprisoned in man returned to the kingdom of the Father, guided in this ascension by its heavenly half. This return to heaven is described as an ascent through the seven heavens that separate the lower world from the land of the living. The reunion of the two parts of the Spirit and the consequent ascension to the kingdom of the Father led to the knowledge of one's own divine reality, and this brought, finally, freedom from the chain of rebirth. The Cathars didn't speak of salvation, but of liberation and, page 180, above all, of return to the Father, to God, to the heavenly land, expressions already resonating many times in these pages. Now, the idea of return, typical of the Cathars, doesn't exist in Catholic doctrine, nor would make any sense. For the Cathars, the spirit of man imprisoned in material was originally with God or in God, where his other half remained, and so yearned for a reunion with this and a return. According to Catholic doctrine, instead, God breathed the soul at the moment of conception. But this soul, being unique and personal, did not exist before and will yearn to move towards God, but certainly not a return. As the Catechism says, only he who came out of the Father could make the return to the Father, Christ. Where human beings are concerned, the word return in the Catechism refers always and only to conversion, that is, to the sacrament of confession or penance. The idea of return is clearly evident in Dante. I could quote numerous passages, but some examples will be enough. O creature who, that you return fair unto him who made you. Purgatory 16, 31-32. Spirit, within whom weeping ripens that without which there's no return to God. Purgatory 19, 91-92. To return to God, that is, to ascend to paradise, concludes the Bosco Reggio edition, feeling itself obliged to substitute the word return, that, as I have said, makes no sense in Catholic doctrine, with ascend, without, however, asking themselves how come this word appears so often. Significant are the verses with which Dante describes how, arriving at the Empyrean, he sees the rose for the first time with all the blessed. I saw mirrored, in more than 1,000 tears, how much of us who have one return above. Paradise 30, 113-114. It is decidedly Cathar, above all if one keeps in mind that Dante has written how much and not how many. The laying on of the hands, this ancient rite, with which from the time of Jesus and the apostles transmitted the Holy Spirit to the good Christians for centuries, was the centre, the heart of Catharism. Wanting to expound the Cathar doctrine, Dante could not speak about it. On the other hand, he could not explicitly name it. I am convinced, and will try to show in the next pages, that the entire middle cantica of the poem is dedicated to this Cathar sacrament, which is to say that part of the journey of our lives that consists of the laborious climb of Mount Purgatory represents the complex spiritual course of the Cathar believer towards the consolamentum. But before tackling the comparison between the ascent of purgatory and the spiritual course of the Cathars, I consider it appropriate to pause on the significance of purgatory, both that of the Church and the relative Dantean Cantica, that of the three is without doubt the least known and the least understood.